Original post. My dad has a business that me and my brother work for. My dad wants to leave the family business entirely to my older brother. He says it makes the most sense because my older brother is his oldest child and has been in this business the longest. He has a business degree and knows much more about the business side of this work. While I do the physical aspect of the job very well, I was a bit impulsive when I was younger, so he doesn't think that it would be a good idea for me to be in charge. To be honest, I don't think it would be either, but considering how much I contribute to this business and that I am his son too, I think I should at least get some say in the future of the business and a stake in the company. Not even half, but some. In the end, my father said no, but that I would get some money after he died. The whole thing really pissed me off, and I was starting to get bitter continuing to work there and be around them, so I gave my dad 2 weeks' notice. I've just been trying to keep a neutral demeanor the whole time. This week is my last week, and Jared, the guy that represents our biggest client, was asking if I could take care of this other project next week. So I told him I would pass that along to my brother, but that I'm not going to be working here next week. Jared and I talk a lot and are pretty friendly with each other because I'm the one that mostly works this job. We've actually hung out outside of work a few times. So he asked why I was leaving. I just said for personal reasons. He asked where I was going to be working, and I told him I wasn't sure yet because there's not a lot of business that needs employees with my skills. Anyway, today while I'm working, Jared's boss comes down and asks if I will consider working for them. He said he's been thinking for a while of doing all this work in-house, but has been having trouble finding someone with experience since it's such a specialized field. He said he's always been happy with my work, and that's why they always request me. He offered me a 3-year contract, and the salary is so much more than I would have ever made at my dad's company, plus it comes with benefits and an office. Not sure what I'll do with an office, but that seems pretty cool. I also get to pick out the equipment, and I can hire 2 employees to work under me. Overall, it's an amazing deal, but I know that losing this client will hit my family's business hard. At the same time, it's not like I was asking for it or trying to steal their client. He was the one that came to me and wanted me. I thought about using this as a bargaining chip with my dad to get some say and stake in the company, but honestly, I don't want to get it that way, and I just don't want to work with either of them anymore. Edit. I really regret putting the whole bargaining chip in this post. People seem to keep focusing on me doing that when I say right afterward that it's I don't want to, and I don't want to even work with them anymore. It was just a fleeting thought, guys. Edit 2. Seriously, guys, not actually planning on bargaining or negotiating with my dad or brother. Now for the comments before reading the update. This person says, not the a-hole, unless you use this to pressure your dad, just go and take the job. And then this person says, I agree, but it sounds like a rock and a hard place regardless, as he can either blindside his family by potentially crippling their business or tell them ahead of time, which my gut reaction says it's the right thing to do as we don't know what percentage of their business comes from this one client. But I would bet that prompts a predictable reaction from family to preserve their livelihood. I don't envy OP's position, but I feel like this is a more nuanced conflict than people are treating it. I was pondering the same thing. My thought was that OP should have considered asking his client to advocate on their behalf since they seem to have such a close working relationship, and which, based on this post, likely would have been more financially appealing of an option to all parties involved. I pictured something to the effect of having clients specify to dad and brother that their contracting with them is entirely dependent on OP personally handling the job. And then if they are stubborn enough to stick to their guns about OP leaving, or even worse, lie to the client's face about OP still being with the company, then client would hammer in the final nail in the coffin by asking for OP's contact info because they want him to do the job in-house as an employee. But then again, maybe my love of poetic justice is getting the better of me. This person says, not the a-hole, your dad was being completely unfair. You now have an awesome opportunity, go for it. I would, however, check my employment contracts you have and make sure you're doing it by the book. For example, my contract stated I wouldn't work in a competitor business until 6 months after I left my old place. OP says, I'm pretty sure mine didn't have any competitor clause. It was really short, like 2 paragraphs long. I'll check again later though when I get back into the office. Now for the update. So it's been a while since my first post and things have settled. I felt like the good amount of all of you said that it was okay to take the job. There were a few that said that I should give my dad and brother a heads up that this was all happening before I accepted the job so as not to blindside them. So that's what I did the day after I made my original post. The talk itself didn't go as smoothly though. They got pretty angry. My dad said this was a reason why it would have been a bad idea to give me part of the business because I'm selfish and only think of myself when he's trying to keep over a dozen people employed. My brother said I was basically betraying the family because I didn't get something that I didn't really deserve from them. I didn't exactly want to stay around anymore after that, so I just walked out early that day and decided not to finish out the rest of the week that I was going to. Later, I called to formally accept the job. The equipment we ordered only came last week, so I was basically just been paid to stay at home and do nothing for the first few weeks. It was actually nice to have a break from everything before diving into work again. It's been pretty great at the new place, though. My new workspace is a lot different and nicer from my dad's shop. It's wide and open. It has air conditioning, assigned parking so no more fighting for a spot on the street. The office they gave me isn't huge, but it's also nice. Like I said in my previous post, I don't have much use for an office, but it's still nice to have a little private place to myself, especially one with a mini fridge. Overall, I definitely feel much more appreciated here than I ever felt working with my dad. Speaking of which, I haven't talked to my dad or brother since, and I don't think I will. I had heard from Jared the night after I left. After talking to them about the job that they had, called my new boss and tried to deter him from hiring me. I also heard from a cousin that my dad's business isn't doing as well right now, and they had to let some people go and are downsizing. Some of their other clients had shut down their business due to COVID. So that, combined with losing their big client, permanently hit them hard. Anyway, there's not much more to say than that. Many of you were right in that it all likely did prematurely damage my relationship with my brother and father, but I still want to say thank you to everyone who encouraged me to take the job. Story 2. My soon-to-be ex-husband humiliated me on our wedding day and met his karma instantly, plus update. Original post. It has been 2 days since my wedding day. I had already been with him for 4 years, 1 year of which I was engaged. It all started a few months earlier when I noticed my husband Jake watching prank videos. Among other things, these videos showed embarrassing photos of the bride being played on a projector in front of the whole room or in the bride's face being smashed into the cake. I told him straight away that I didn't want anything like that at our wedding. He just laughed and said that he wasn't planning anything like that. I thought that was the end of it, but I kept catching him making strange arrangements with his friends. He suddenly wanted to choose the wedding photographer and the cake. I thought nothing of it and was just glad that he was helping me with the wedding preparations. Nevertheless, I reminded him the day before that if he did something like that, I would break up with him immediately. When the day of the wedding came, everything went smoothly until the ceremony, until the moment came when the cake was going to be cut. The whole room watched us as I made the first cut, and the photographer stood in front of us with the camera in hand. Suddenly, I felt a hand on the back of my head pushing my face into the cake. Not only my makeup, but the whole wedding dress was ruined, and the whole room laughed. My husband, the loudest. At that moment, the photographer took the photo, and Jake said that this was now our wedding photo. I turned around, slapped him in the face, and ran out of the room in tears. Thank goodness karma didn't take long to arrive and came in the form of his own brother. I ran to the toilet and started crying when I suddenly heard loud shouting from the hall. It was his brother Frank. I could barely understand what he was saying, and when I left the toilet, he was waiting for me. He told me that Jake had something to tell me. Jake was shaking and apologized without looking me in the eye. Frank told him to look me in the eye and apologize again. Even I was a bit scared of Frank at that moment because I'd always thought of him as a kind and gentle man. I had never seen him angry before. Jake apologized again, and then Frank led us back into the hall, which was suddenly very quiet, and most of our families looked down at the floor a little embarrassed. The festivities were cut short, and I was taken home by Frank because I was too angry with my husband and I did not want to see him. During the ride, Frank apologized for blowing up like that. He explained that my husband was always like that and used a very special occasion to humiliate Frank. When it was Frank's birthday, my husband would throw his cake at him and break his presents. But back then, their parents always brushed it off by saying, "That's how brothers behave." So he had to endure every humiliation. But when he saw my husband bury my face in the cake, he was fed up because he realized that my husband was just a bad person who got his satisfaction from humiliating others. I asked Frank if he thought it would be an exaggeration if I separated from my husband, and he said no, because according to him, I deserved better, and he didn't care how his brother felt about it because he had brought it upon himself. Then he told me that if I needed help collecting my things, he would help me and gave me his number. I decided to separate from him and file for divorce and inform Jake and my family about it. Jake just told me not to do that because it was just a harmless prank. I was spammed by both his family and mine that it would be ridiculous to end our marriage over this, but I see it differently. If he does something like this to me despite multiple requests not to do it even after promising he wouldn't do it, then how could I trust him no matter what he promises me? I have to assume that the opposite can and will happen, and that he doesn't care at all how I feel about his decisions. This situation could be projected onto so many much worse situations where it could be important for me to be able to trust him. His brother Frank seems to be the only person who supports me now, and I will go through with the divorce. Call me humorless, call me what you want, but I have given my reasons. Now for the update. Many of you asked for an update, so here it is. Read the original post if you haven't already done that. Many of you pointed out that I could get an annulment. Don't ask me why I didn't think of this earlier, but after you guys pointed it out, I planned on doing that. Haven't done it yet, but it will happen in the next few weeks. It will probably be much easier than a divorce. With that being said, what happened now? So, a day after I wrote the original post, I went to Jake's apartment to get my stuff. I slept over at my best friend's house in the meanwhile. Of course, I also took up Frank's offer to help me getting my stuff. When we arrived there, he pleaded with me it was just a prank, and he didn't mean to hurt me. But the only thing that I could think about is how he broke my trust before, and how I couldn't trust him now if he told me he didn't mean to hurt me. When he saw Frank, his face turned red, and he yelled at Frank and accused him of poisoning me against him. Don't worry, Jake, you did this to yourself. He argued with Frank for a while, and Frank confronted him with everything he did to him during his childhood. He told Frank to grow a pair and that he should forget about what happened back then. Ironically, when he's the one who never changed and is just as bad as before. He constantly tried to talk to me, but Frank stood in his way and talked over him, and when we left, I saw how angrily he smashed the door. Apparently, he now spread lies to his family that Frank tried to steal me away from him. Luckily, I was able to see who he really was before it was too late. What a coincidence that after this incident, my family spammed me with messages as well about how we should talk to a therapist instead of breaking up over this. They only stopped when I threatened them to cut them off too. I also didn't plan to share this with you, but so many people suggested it that I thought I could at least ask him, so after we got my stuff, I asked Frank out, but he rejected me, telling me that he's already dating someone else. I just wanted to tell you this so you can stop asking. But honestly, I'm also kind of glad this was his answer, because it means he didn't just help me because there was a malicious intent behind it, but more because he is simply a good person. Regardless, I told him about my post here, and Frank told me he read many of your comments. He said he liked your comments and that you made his day. I thought you might want to know this. This is probably the first and last update of this. I just want to get this behind me and look forward. But thank you all for your support. Edit. If you want to call my story fake because I asked Frank out, feel free. I just acted out what many of you asked me to do, and I thought to myself that asking him out once doesn't hurt anyone and maybe would lead to a much healthier relationship if he said yes. I'm not in the best state of mind and will now leave this account, so don't be surprised if I don't respond anymore. My story will stay here and hopefully raise awareness for many people who are in similar situations with toxic partners, no matter if they're male or female. I wish you all the best. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for not making it to my stepson's graduation for my friend's birthday? 4 years ago, I married my now husband who has a son. His son is 24 years old and his university graduation was last Monday. My relationship with his son is not strong considering I married his father when he was away for university. However, we are on good terms of mutual respect. I am always present at his important events and he was also for mine. His graduation was supposed to be not on this past Monday, but the Monday before, so 2 weeks ago. But it got postponed for this past Monday. The problem was my childhood best friend, who's literally my sister, her birthday was this past Monday, and she was traveling the night of her birthday, so we had to have the birthday in the afternoon. I'm also one of the party organizers, and this girl is the closest person to me, even closer than my husband, and I just couldn't leave her at the same time. And it's the graduation that suddenly got postponed while I already had plans. Knowing this, I texted my stepson saying sorry that I will not be able to show up, congratulated him for his graduation, and he responded nicely. My husband thought and was annoyed at this and wanted me to skip the birthday to attend the graduation. I told him I can't, and that it's not my fault the graduation got postponed. I also told him that we are hosting a graduation party for his son and his friends at the house, and I am coming, so I am still celebrating with him, just not at the official day, but that's because I do have plans too, and it's the graduation that got changed. If I knew before the graduation that this was going to happen the past Monday, then I would have been able to make other arrangements. His graduation party came and I gave him his gift and congratulated him again, and he looked fine, but his father and his mother kept side-eyeing me the whole night like I'm a criminal for not throwing away my plans, and my husband still gives me shit after it, so am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. The graduation was suddenly postponed to a day where you had the important plans already confirmed. Plus, you still hosted a graduation party for your stepson. I'm not sure your husband understands that it isn't just your plans, but the plans of your best friend who is traveling to celebrate her birthday with you the night of her birthday. It's not right to impose on others' plans because your plans have changed, yet this seems to be what your husband thinks is appropriate. I think you were caught in a no-win situation here. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Not the a-hole. This person says, not the a-hole. Life happens. The stepson is a whole adult who, as you've said, you aren't really close to, but are on good terms with, who also seems to have been cool with it. If this was a person you helped raise, that would be one thing, but this is a person you met when he was an adult already. You also still managed to celebrate his big day with him. This person says, yes, not the a-hole. I don't know why everyone seems to be taking out their stepchild traumas on you, lol. The graduation, which you were originally going to attend, was changed to a different date, which resulted in a schedule conflict for you, and you could no longer attend the graduation because it coincided with your lifetime best friend's birthday. However, you were present for a graduation party that you hosted for him with your husband. I don't think missing the ceremony is a big deal, especially since it sounds like he still had other people to go to it to cheer him on. And you were there for what he probably cared about more, the party. As a 27-year-old, I can tell you that my friends and I cared more about who came to the party than the ceremony, since you can actually speak or hang out with the people at the party. The biggest thing for me is that it seems like he didn't mind that you weren't there either. It seems like it's more this perceived slight as a personal issue your husband needs to deal with than any actual offense. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you.